Hi everybody, my name is Atiq Ahmed Bhatti. I'm a fourth generation homeopath and host of the Homeopathy Health podcast and also of this Instagram live series called Homeopathic Voices from Around the World. So really excited because I have Carol Boyce joining me today, one of the members of the film team behind the film Introducing Homeopathy. Waiting for Carol Boyce to join us via Instagram. This is part one of the three-part special. Hi, Carol.
Hey, Atiq, do I need headphones? Can you hear me?
You're absolutely fine.
Okay, great. Perfect.
Great.
One less thing to worry about.
So we are live.
Okay.
So just saying to the listeners that thank you for those who are listening live, and of course who will listen back on Instagram and YouTube. This video will go up straight after. I'm delighted to welcome Carol Boyce, who is a homeopath, but also is a filmmaker and is part of the core team from the film Introducing Homeopathy. And the first screening of the film will be at the Joint American Homeopathic Conference in Reston in Virginia in the US. And this is going to be held on Friday, the 19th of April. So you must book this date in your diary, but more importantly, if you go to introducinghomeopathy.com, you can actually purchase the tickets that are available in two options. One, in person, and more importantly, number two, or just as importantly rather, virtual tickets as well. So if you can't physically attend, you can have like a homeopathic party at home, and you can invite family and friends, and you can view it from the comfort of your lounge. Carol, it's an absolute delight to have you. Thank you so very much for joining me today.
No, thank you for the opportunity actually to talk about what we're doing. I've still got a bit of a cough. For those of you who know me, it's long overdue for disappearing, but that's what you get when you're working too hard. So
Carol is actually working very hard, and we're going to discuss that. Actually, we're going to talk about that today. But Carol, for those who may not be aware, we certainly, as homeopaths in the world of homeopathy, know who you are. But for those who are just tuning in, perhaps if you could just introduce yourself, yeah, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm Carol Boyce. I have been a homeopath for 40 years now. Well, next year will be 40 years, close enough. I I teach a lot, so I know I was thrilled to see some of my students or ex-students were on the list yesterday when I looked. I've done filmmaking. When I joined homeopathy back in the day, which was, what is that? In the mid-'80s, actually 85 was when I graduated.
Right.
I was on a mission and I haven't changed it really. So the mission is to let everyone know that this option of homeopathy is out there, available. In my humble opinion, and I always talk in superlatives, those of you who know me, I do believe sincerely it can change the world, obviously for the better. The second I realized that the association, if you like, between homeopathic prescribing and epigenetics, I just thought this is the answer. So if everybody had the access to homeopathy, the world would be a better place because every generation would be healthier than the one before. As the Indians say, we could relieve the suffering humanity. That's how they describe homeopathy. And I really haven't changed that passion to change the world. I know some people get a bit cynical maybe about that prospect, but honestly, why can't it? Because it's transformative medicine, it's primary care medicine, it's all those things. So all my homeopathic life has pretty much been that. If I'm not teaching, I'm setting up projects in various countries. Then I started the filmmaking, and well, actually, I left homeopathy in 1996 to to go to LA to go to film school and learn how to make film. But way back then, there wasn't even a digital camera. It was all literally on film, splicing. So the cost was tremendous. Nobody was interested in documentaries. So I ended up taking a pause, going back to homeopathy, teaching at the American University in LA for a while. While the tech caught up with my desire, if you like. And now, of course, anyone can make a movie in terms of the technology. Yeah, so that's me, really.
You know, you said something very close to my heart, because I always talk about homeopathy as under the umbrella of service to humanity.
Yeah.
Certainly, homeopathy is one element of many, of course, but it's such a powerful element indeed, because like you said so aptly, it changes lives for the better, always for the better. And
yeah,
you know, it can get somebody off, it can pick somebody up when they're really down. You know, it can restore their vitality and their health and their well-being and their wellness, mentally, emotionally, physically. And
yeah,
I mean, how good is that, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously the logical conclusion would be that everybody would be playing to their strengths, everybody would have the opportunity to fulfill their true potential. And
Yes.
to me, that is just, you know, I'm never going to leave homeopathy. I'm 72 now. I'm never going to retire. I'm always going to be doing what I do now for as long as, you know, I can put one foot in front of the other, basically.
Oh, hello from Lebanon, and hello back to you. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box, and this is your opportunity to have them answered live by Carol. Carol, I wanted to ask you, how did you get involved with the film? I mean, what transpired that, you know, got you caught and hooked as such?
So back in 2011, I made a film, which the motivation for making that film was to inspire homeopaths and homeopathic students, because at that time, the homeopathic community was under immense pressure from so-called skeptics, I like to call them denialists, who were doing all kinds of ridiculous attempts, let's say, because they haven't succeeded. Clearly, we're still here. There was the UK Parliamentary Science and Technology investigation into homeopathy that concluded homeopathy was nothing more than placebo, which, you know, I did a whole deconstruction of that entire, well, I don't know what to call it. It was a fraud. I'm afraid to use words like that these days, but yeah, it was a setup from day one. So in response to that and the kind of lowered morale of homeopaths, I made a film called Homeopathy Around the World. Actually, it was called Making a Difference, but it ended up with Homeopathy Around the World. You can see it on YouTube, in fact. And that film I made with Kim Aaliyah, he asked me to make it, and he put a small amount of funding towards it. And so I made that film. That was 50 minutes long, showed you 12 different projects around the world, talked about homeopathy and how widespread it is, because we forget it's everywhere. Yes, so I was already doing films before that, but they were shorts about things like autism, etc., and homeopathy. So that was my first big film, and I guess I got the bug then. So when Kim was making this film, I don't know, it was, I guess I like to think it was an obvious thing to call me and say, did I want to get involved? So I didn't need to be asked twice.
Absolutely. You're in such a nice position, because this film is really going to change people's lives. And whether it's bringing the message of homeopathy, whether it's going to be talking about the efficacy of homeopathy, whether it's just about, hey, this is something you need to know in your lifetime. You know, so everything is positive. Certainly, of course, you could say I'm going to say that, but even objectively looking back, stepping back, even from a third-person perspective, and having seen the clip recently on one of our collaborator meetings, you know, it really is going to drive that message home that, look, there are other options as well. And sometimes those options can be just absolutely incredible, and you just may not be aware of it. But hey, we're going to showcase this to you so that you understand and that you end up learning about it, you know?
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, this is the time to make a film like this, because we've just had nearly 4 years now, where the population has been forced to look at their health in a way they never really have before.
Mm.
And they've also found that the answers that they thought they could get from the medical profession haven't been that forthcoming. So they are now very aware that they need to be as healthy as they can be and enhance their immune system, etc. And so they're looking for options. And so it's the obvious time to tell them homeopathy is available.
I must give a shout out to Lisa, who's joined. Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining. And there's another Lisa, Lisa Bernard, who says she's been at the Homeopathy College all day, and now that she's here, and she's told all her fellow students, oh, thank you so much. That's so very kind of you. There was a quick hi from, let me just go through, from Miami. If I've missed anyone, I do apologize. There's a lot of messages coming up and notifications. But I was going to ask you, Carol, so, you know, I'm very humbled that I'm part of, I'm a collaborator. And so I've seen some of the footage, and even though it's raw, and as I mentioned that day, it was absolutely, I mean, I was actually lost for words. And, you know, as a podcast host, you could say I could talk for England, right? Because I'm based in the UK, but I was, as you could see from my expression, I was totally lost, and I had no words, because if that's what that can do in a rough edit, and that was 4 minutes, I mean, you must share something about, wow, what are we going to, what is the world going to expect? You know, what are they going to see?
Well, we hope everybody will have that kind of reaction to it. Obviously, you know, it's going to be a film, or it is a film. I mean, obviously, it's in process, and the premiere private screening is getting ever closer. So obviously, we're starting to stress a bit, not stress, but, you know, mindful, watching the clock. It's
8 weeks, by the way. 8 weeks. Approximately 8 weeks left. No
8
pressure.
weeks, yeah.
No pressure.
So it's a patient-driven film, basically. I don't want to give too much away, but it will be driven by patients and their experiences. Yeah. And then interspersed with that, there'll be some history and some of our philosophy. I mean, I'm calling it philosophy. The kind of why we do what we do, how we do what we do, the things involved, you know, some bit of the science and the research, and just, I guess, making a shout out for this is an art and a science, and it's primary care medicine. Let's not make any mistake about that. So hopefully there will be some cases which we don't get to see in places like England, Britain, America, places like that, most of Europe, but cases which, you know, they're on the front line in Africa, in places like that. And also I arranged for the camera person to go to the UK and film on farms, talk to the farmers what they're doing with it. And it's just incredible. It's everywhere. Everything you can think of, I'm going to say homeopathy has a place there.
Yeah, absolutely it does, isn't it? It's not just homeopathy for humans, it's homeopathy for animals, and then you've got agriculture and farming. So it's for plants,
exactly.
it's for soil, it's for, in fact, I was speaking to Elizabeth Adalian, and she's done some research with the climate scientist, and, you know, it's homeopathy for the climate as well. So, and we're not even, we're only at the start of that journey, you know, 200 years in, because there's such a tremendous amount of absolute potential within this system. It's, again, I would say, the words that you used at the beginning, it's life-changing. It literally is, but on so many levels, right?
Excuse me. It's life-changing, and it can be life-saving. Yep. Transformative medicine. I mean, I've searched for 40 years now, looking for a situation where homeopathy can't be helpful, and I've yet to find one. You know, even when both my, well, they didn't both pass away at the same time, but my parents both passed away. And, you know, the value of homeopathy in that context is amazing. For them to make their passing peaceful, for the family to help with their grieving. I mean, it's endless.
You know, you say that, I was just thinking back because, as homeopathy's been in my family for some generations, and my grandfather used to have whatever remedies they were in his pocket, and anyone who was sick, he would take a bottle out. It was one pill, literally. It was
Yeah,
one globule, let's say,
yeah,
a decent size globule, right? Size 40, whatever, right? Who
yeah,
goes into
yeah,
technicality? But the process was he would get them to put their tongue out, and he would put the globule on, or either on or under, whichever, and
yeah,
within seconds, and
yeah,
that really
yeah,
sort of, and this happens around the world. This is nothing unique, of course. As homeopaths, we see that day in, day out. I mean, how brilliant is that? I mean, isn't that just something that you just really want to tell the world, and which is what this film is going to do? I have to control my excitement, as you can see. I'm so passionate about what's going to happen on April 19th.
yeah. I mean, it is exciting. It's kind of been a dream of mine for a long time to make this kind of documentary, but it's pretty difficult to make something of this magnitude by yourself, you know. So I'm thrilled to be on this team now. It's a small team. It's a very small team, but we are working it. Yeah.
I think, Carol, it's an absolutely wonderful team of
Yeah.
incredible people, of course yourself included, who really know how to get that message out to people, because this is going to be an educational shift as well. Of course, people will learn something about homeopathy, of course they will, and they'll hear testimonials, but it's that shift, isn't it, in the mindset, which is so important, that, well, look, take this
Yeah.
seriously because of this, and this, and this
Yeah.
is just not even the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more behind this, over
Yeah.
200 years
Yeah.
worth, in fact.
To I think to expose the public to the potential is really the thing. The potential of homeopathy is so vast, and even people who use it are not really aware of just how vast the potential is. So back to me saving the world, not on my own, obviously. I'm doing my small bit to get it out there, because it's a crying shame that people don't know. And the medical profession also, hopefully some of them will jump ship, as it were, because as we know, we've got a long history of homeopathy being criticized by the medical profession, right back to our ancient history of homeopathy. And then when they see what it can do, they can't go back. They have to train as a homeopath and join us.
Carol, it's an interesting story, isn't it? I know we're slightly going perhaps off tangent, but it's interesting, isn't it, that Dr. Hahnemann, had to move more than 30 times, lugging his stuff around, right? And he was
Yeah,
persecuted, he was ridiculed, he was laughed at, mocked, whatever it was, throughout his life. But my God, what a gift he left, and 200 years later, it's not
yeah,
just homeopathy will stand, it continues to, and always will stand the test of time. And we're discovering so many new things, aren't we, with homeopathy? You mentioned agriculture or agrohomeopathy, and now there's
yeah.
obviously the climate element as well, and it's sustainable, it's climate friendly, it's viable, it's so
All
much.
that, absolutely. And,
But
and I say to homeopaths and also students, whoever they are, if they decide homeopathy is not useful, we can still just carry on, because it's energy medicine. At the end of the day, it's part of the fabric of the universe, if you like. It's not like something they could collect all the pills together and pour them down the drain. It isn't going to stop anything, because, and the other side of that is, if you think you're having a bad day, then just think about Hahnemann and what he went through to bring this to the world. And suddenly your problems are small.
which
So,
is
yeah.
interesting what you've just said, isn't it? Because we're looking at over 200 years ago, and only in recent times, more so over certainly the last 5 years, there's so much research being done on quantum physics and the principles and the mechanisms, and everything vibrates and has a frequency. And
Yeah.
I mean, that was 200 years ago. These remedies were potentized and
Yeah.
succussed, right? Or succussed and
Yeah.
potentized, I mean. And wow, only now there's another element of science which has just come to the limelight, literally, where more people are talking about it,
Yeah,
which is talking about this. And like you, because you mentioned energy medicine, it, how can you get rid of energy? You know, it's one form or the other, right?
that's it. And, you know, epigenetics, he was doing that. He was talking about the need for nutrition and um, healthy lifestyle, fresh air, exercise, or like he was talking about all those things before the medical profession ever even mentioned it. And it's really quite relatively recently that they've decided that nutrition is really important. You know, it's incredible. He's been doing it 200 and some years. So yeah, science is catching up with us now, I think.
Yes. Now, Carol,
Yeah.
give us an exclusive. Are you allowed to? I don't know. I always find I watch a lot of chat shows, and I was just watching Graham Norton yesterday, and he asked one of his guests, "Can you give us an exclusive?" And they said no. Is one of the new movies out, but this is slightly different. Is there anything you can share which is an exclusive for this Insta Live? And I am going to ask Isabel the same question tomorrow, and Kim on Tuesday. Something to whet our
Give you
appetite.
to give you, I'm not sure what you're asking me for.
Just some behind the scenes, something exclusive that we're not aware of, something featured in a film
Oh,
perhaps, or
gosh, I don't know. The team is spread across the world, so
yes,
everybody's on a different time zone,
okay,
which makes it very interesting. And trying to keep all those time zones in my mind is another thing. I'm currently in the US, but on a different time zone to Kim. I think the same time zone as Isabel, I think. Anyway, but yeah, so we're all just doing our thing. We work separately and then we meet every day, every single day we meet
mm,
and share things, go through the footage, make notes, make edits. That, I mean, I think I don't want to put too much out there because it's not really
yeah,
fair,
yeah,
but
that's
I
fair.
can guarantee that if you're not moved by this film, then you need to go and see a homeopath. That's what I think.
Well, yeah, they're very nicely said, actually. Um, so how far are we in the editing process? I mean, where are you at the moment? Where's the team, and what's left?
Um,
And
So we're doing it in different segments. So there's patient stories, and then there's different segments about the science, about the research, about history, etc. And so we are currently the focus right now is on the patient stories. So we're going through them and working out the flow of it, the pace of it, working out what B-roll we're going to use and marking out all the sound bites. It's a long process if you haven't made a film like this where you've interviewed a lot of people. So the process is, first of all, you film the interview, then you do so I did all the transcripts for about 83 interviews.
wow,
And then you go through the transcripts and you mark out your sound bites, which we had a lot of really helpful volunteers go through them the first way, then the second wave, and then we go through it a third time and identify just the things that have to be in there, and then the things that like in there, maybe if we can. Then match up that with all the videos, string out all the videos so we can see the flow of it, and then start nailing down the actual editing and you know what a film looks like. So you put B-roll in there and you have the talking head and a picture of a cow or whatever.
it's quite intensive, isn't it? It's
Pardon?
very intensive, isn't it?
It's very, very intensive. And it's a case of also you watch all those videos, 80 odd videos, and you read all the transcripts. And then you remember when you're doing this part of it that you actually, another character said a piece which would marry with this one. So let's put this one in here as well. So then you go off and find that piece. So there's a lot of stuff in your head all the time being shifted around.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
absolutely.
I love it. It's a joy for me to be back in a creative process. Yeah, it is. So I'm
And
very happy with it.
somebody actually has just asked a question: when will it release? So it's going. The first screening, a private screening, will be on April 19th at the Joint American Homeopathic Conference, and that's being held in Reston, in Virginia.
Yeah,
And you can purchase tickets as well online to either attend in person or watch it virtually from the comfort of your home. Just visit introducinghomeopathy.com. And I would say
Yeah.
anyone who books the ticket by listening to this, who's interested, please do select my name from the red carpet ambassador. That will be very helpful. Thank you so very much for that. There's a few questions here. Actually, that question about release. So what happens after the first screening? What's the sort of, is there a plan to
Yeah,
extend that? Obviously?
there is a plan, and I can't say too much about it because we don't know how it's going to work yet, but we are in negotiation with a big distributor, let's call it that. So we can't have a premiere until we finish discussing the potential of contracts there, which is why it has to be a private screening.
But fingers crossed, that will happen soon as well. Definitely sometime this year, and that will then be
definitely this year. And then, and if we do that, then it will be, I mean, worldwide, huge distribution. It will definitely put homeopathy on the map, which is what the film is all about at the end of the day.
One thing, please come to Canada.
Yes, I'd love to. I've never been to Canada.
There is a question from Sam Henna. Is it real stories? So is the film real? Are they real examples or testimonials as such?
They are real patients telling their stories. Yep.
And now you haven't. There's not many weeks left, as we know, until the first screening, the private screening. So how is this time? I mean, it's pretty much on, isn't it? 24 hours.
Yes. Yes. So we're working on this every day now because we have a group of editors. And so we go through and we work out what needs to be in there. Then we send it to the editors. They do the rough cut, or really it's an assembly cut. And then they send it back and we see it, decide maybe this needs to go there, maybe less of that, more of this, send it back. It's like that process. And at the same time, we're writing the narration and, working. It's a lot. That's all I can tell you, really.
I can imagine.
Non-stop.
I can imagine. But you are going to change the world as a homeopath to homeopath. The film will definitely change people's perception. I'm 100% confident it's going to do that,
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. Anyone who sits there objectively rather, it will change them. It's a very powerful story. It's a very powerful narration. It's a powerful testimonial to, hey, this is healthcare, and this is how you can utilize that healthcare. It's not difficult to get hold of. It's accessible.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to include people working in the field as well. So some from Africa. We've got people in places like Romania where they are dealing with pathology, which we really don't see anymore. And it's pretty compelling. You see the before and afters of people who've got really serious pathology that you can see. It's not hidden under the bedclothes like it is in England, for instance. You could walk around a hospital ward, you wouldn't have a clue what was going on. So,
it's so interesting, isn't it, Carol? Because as a homeopath, I mean, we ourselves, and I say this in the humblest way, because it's nothing to do with us. It's a selection of the remedy and how that matches the patient. But we've seen that, haven't we? We've witnessed that nearly every day, where patients who are really, you could say the constitution is broken, and all of a sudden, through a selection of doses or chosen remedy, you can see that transformation, and sometimes it's just sitting right in front of you, and you can see it happen. I mean, it's just sometimes it's hard, isn't it, to put that into words, because it's just it's believable because it's happening, but it's almost unbelievable that it's happening.
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. When you get to it, when I tell students, there is no high like the cured case. I know I'm not supposed to use the word cure, so let's say resolved. There's no high like the resolved case. So when you feel that homeopathy is difficult, and let's face it, although it's very simple in its concept, it can be very difficult to practice, especially with complicated cases. But you know, no matter how many of your eczema cases are aggravating, once you've seen that resolved case, you want that high again. You're going to stay in that game. You're never going to leave homeopathy. And that's a health warning, actually, for someone who's been in it for 40 years and I haven't lost an ounce of the passion I had at the beginning. It gets you like that. Once you've seen it, and that's why I say any medical professional who goes to a clinic and watches us work, they can't go back. They can't go back.
It's interesting. I always get asked, people say, oh, you know, you do so much of this and promoting homeopathy and, you know, taking it here, there, and talking about it all the time. And I say, listen, I've got an opportunity and I'm really humbled by that opportunity. I don't know how long I've got the opportunity, but what I do know is, you know, I'm going to make sure that I do the best that I can so that people are able to, as just one very tiny example, of course, but so people are aware, they're made aware that, look, there is something else that can help you. So don't just close your eyes and focus, you know, just down one path. There are several paths. In fact, there are many more than several.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. I don't know what else I can tell you about it. I mean,
I've got this question. Someone from Moldova says, wish you all the best. You are doing a marvelous job. I'm looking forward to seeing the video, meaning the film. That's very nice. There's a few people who've joined internationally as well. That's nice.
Yeah, good to see you. I hope I'm doing a plug for my own thing now, which is I hope you come to the HINT information exchanges. We have them once a month. That's Homeopathy International, which is a group I co-founded. It's a professional registration organization, but we run free information exchanges every month. So yeah, go online and have a look at that.
Please share the URL.
Pardon?
The URL. How do they find it? HINT.
It's hint, HINT, .org, and when you're on there, go to events tab, and if you drop the tab, you'll see you can register for events, and then you'll get an email telling you what we're doing. The next one is on Wednesday, so if you want to come on Wednesday, better be sharpish. I'm not the host now because I'm doing this film, but I'll be back soon. Yeah. So we usually get about 100 people from all over the world.
And you are coming to the UK soon, aren't you? Returning home?
Returning home soon, but now, you know, the other part of the group that's up in Northern California have asked me to go back because then we'll all be on the same time zone, and we can all get up early and work all day instead of right now we have this. I'm working in the morning and then they join at lunchtime. So yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing you in person when you do come to the UK.
Definitely, let's do it. Yeah.
And I think that would be wonderful. It would be a wonderful honor for me to be able to meet you as well. Anyway.
No, same. I mean, we're all in the same business, if you like, of promoting homeopathy, not for any other reason but to heal the suffering humanity. That's it in a nutshell, really.
Absolutely. And the title remains the same, yes? Introducing Homeopathy. I believe the title was a bit different at the start. Am I right? I'm not sure who mentioned it to me. But...
That's today's title. You know, who knows? We could change it further down the road, but that seems to be going well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is what we're doing. So, sorry?
And how has it been as far as talking to people in the US? I know that everybody that I'm talking to is really looking forward to it, and you can imagine over and above the socials, you know, I'm even patients who are coming to see me in clinic are being told about the film, and there's a real buzz, you know, there's a real positive vibe, and I always say 2024 is the year of homeopathy, and the film is obviously one of the reasons, of course, and there's so much going to happen post that film once it's released for distribution. How exciting is it for those in the US and those in the know?
I am a bit closeted away, you know, banging the keyboard. So I haven't talked to that many people, but I know that with the National Center for Homeopathy, who are also helping support the film, it's a huge group of people.
It's going to be so wonderful.
Getting excited now. They're getting excited and we're getting tense.
It is stressful though, isn't it? It really is closed, you know?
I don't really do a lot of stress actually,
No?
because I'm very pragmatic. It's like, you know, what is and all that. But yeah, we're feeling it. We're feeling the days tick by now for sure.
It'll
Yeah.
be a wonderful holistic after party. I know that.
Yes, indeed.
Much needed rest as well. I have a question for you. Is there a backing track, or is it just a selection of backing music that's going to be
For the
used?
music,
Hmm.
you probably would be better to ask him
Okay.
that question when he's on. So there is some music that's been specially written.
Right.
Yeah, there is, and other music, we're using music that we already have. Yeah, but there's definitely a very special piece of music. That's all
I will ask him on
that's all
Tuesday.
I'll say on that. Sorry.
And how long is the film? Because that's a question I'm often asked. We know that, you know, movies are generally, I don't know, it depends nowadays, doesn't it? But generally 90 minutes, aren't they,
90
or thereabout?
minutes, yes, and that's a really interesting question because you never know how long a film is until it's finished.
Hmm.
Theoretically, it could be 5 hours. Clearly, it won't be. We'll have to
But you have
cut
enough
down what we
material for about 50 hours, I think.
have. So it'll be an hour and a half, maybe. Yeah, maybe a
Wonderful,
bit less.
wonderful. You never
But
know,
it's
you
a
could do a
full
part
length.
2 and 3.
Well, we certainly have enough material. Yep,
Oh,
yep.
that's
So
interesting.
it can be called a full length feature documentary. Yeah.
Wonderful. Carol, it's been an absolute delight. Honestly, I've loved every minute of this conversation, and I really am very thankful to you, very grateful to you for coming on and sharing your insights and experiences about the film.
Honestly, thanks for the invite. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm happy to be sharing it. I know I seemed a bit guarded, but you know, at this stage, you don't want to give away too much. So you'll all have to come and see the film. You'll all have to come and have watch parties, get your mates together, make some food, sit around the television or wherever you're going to show it. Yeah, and celebrate what you do every day of your life if you're a homeopath and what you are going to do if you're a student. You know, just feel that joy and excitement. That's what I hope it will bring. Yeah.
You know, as you said that, I just had a thought that I hope, and I will certainly do my part if I'm asked, that when the film is released later this year, that all the colleges, as far as homeopathy is concerned, the schools and colleges and even the universities around the world will incorporate this film as part of as a module, that here's an
Yeah.
introduction. How wonderful that would be.
Definitely. Definitely, we have to do that. I'm on the course providers forum, homeopathy training it's called now. So I meet with heads of schools 3 or 4 times a year. So they're definitely going to have to show it.
This is great.
Definitely.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you
So I
so much.
hope that we have done it justice. I suppose that's the only thing I'd like to say. We've done our best to do it justice. So I hope you agree we did. When you
I think it's going to be received in the most magnificent way. And having seen some snippets, you know, if it can, I live and breathe homeopathy just like you, and if it can make me so emotional, I think it's really going to truly, like you said, you know, it's going to change lives and save
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah. It's a heartfelt movie. Yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. Carol, thank
Yeah.
you so very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks everyone for watching.
I'll speak to you very soon. Take care.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.